Greetings, Prof. Good to discuss with you on sports, the status of sports in Africa, and where we are, and basically just the advice, the thought leadership around what we need to do with sports. You know, as our organizations, PLO Foundation and Worldwide Scholarships, we are in collaboration, and one of the things we want to do is maximize the opportunities for youths on the continent. So I don't know if you can give us just an introduction from your side.
Thank you very much, Munya. One of the things that cannot be denied is that sports is a multi-billion dollar, multi-billion naira, multi-billion rand, multi-billion shilling industry.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the continent of Africa is enjoying a very small percentage of it. If you look at sports in all its dimensions, whether you are talking athletics, you are talking football, men or women, we are just in the periphery of it.
Yeah.
If you look at the leagues in Africa, if you look at the marathons in Africa, they don't pay as much as they ought to pay. And I think going forward, one of the things that we must do is to ensure that our young men and women are products of an African soil in the true sense.
Yeah.
That will mean, therefore, that our leagues are professionalized. Leagues of football, of basketball, of rugby, or cricket, our gymnastics, our swimming, our athletics, and the money will remain here. Not to talk about the accompanying income that comes from television rights and the new technologies. So this collaboration that we have, in my view, is specifically designed to open new avenues. And if we open those new avenues, even our high schools will begin to do what the high schools in the United States of America do, what they do in Australia, what they do in Europe, so that they become the nursery schools, if you may, of creating and preparing our young men and women to earn the dividends of sports, not to talk about the health benefit of sports. So I look forward to a bright future. When we talk about creating opportunities, one of the things that we can do to arrest the migration to Europe and America and the Arab world is to grow sports.
I think, you know, when we think of capacity building, as well as even at the same standpoint, the element of even energizing parents and inspiring parents to be able to understand that this is a career and that it is something that is at par or even better than a kid doing medicine or going into mining or going into the legal space. It is comparable, you know, from a career path. And I think when we look at the continent as it is right now, even from an administrator perspective, the administrators even at the top of some of these federations are not even sensitized to the understanding of the business itself that is involved.
Munya, I'm talking to you at a time when the Nigeria women's team have just won the Continental Cup and their government is giving each of the players 100,000 United States dollars and a 3-bedroom apartment. If one is a lawyer, and I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with being a lawyer, it will take you 20 years or a lifetime to buy those. That should indicate to you that this is not the time when we think that sports is only for those who are not academically endowed. You can be academically endowed, but you choose to have sports as the route and path that you want to follow. These things are not mutually exclusive. You who has been in this space for a long time know that there are dedicated scholarships which allow people to follow that path. And even when you are in sports, you are required to meet certain levels of academic requirements. So the time is now for us to open our minds. And if one is an athlete, you can imagine the several avenues that come to one who is in the sports space. Endorsement. the sports gear,
Yes.
and all those things that are different streams of income. And I think it will be useful as part of our collaboration that we have a deliberate program of going to schools on Parents' Days.
Yes.
And talking to parents and telling them that when you want to ensure that your young son or young daughter is going to have several paths, don't bring them to start going through a particular sport at age 20. Start even
Very
at age 5.
Very early.
And
yes.
in that way, they begin to get into the rhythm.
Yes.
And at that time, the management of time will also be very efficient, because they also have to ensure that their math is good, that their history is good,
Yes.
that their literature is good, their music is good.
Yes.
So in terms of maximum utilization of time, it also ensures that they have no time to engage in other mischiefs.
Yeah.
So the time is now, and I think that our governments, and it's not lost on me, there is not a single African government, if there is, I do not know, that does not have a ministry dedicated to sports.
Right.
That underlines the fact that the recognition is there.
Yes.
What we need to do is to then ensure that these policies are translated into reality, to ensure that the associations and the societies that are involved in sports are democratized and are not captured by individuals.
Yes.
If you look at the athletics world, the football world in Africa, there are individuals who have been there for donkey years.
Yeah.
And what they do is that they stay in office, travel around the world, but do very little for the continent of Africa. The time is now to call them out and tell them, if it is young people who participate in sport, they must also be present at the level of managing sport.
Yes,
of course, they
and
benefit from their
structures.
wisdom, but don't dominate it and just use it for purposes of riding on their back to travel first class.
This is
To the Olympics and
to
all these
Olympic
other
Games and
games.
championships. No, Prof, you really speak on a governance level, you know, with the governance of sport right now, for sure. We need to really mitigate the losses, mitigate just the abuse of these different offices, and make sure that the youngsters are involved from a leadership level, from a sustainability level, because at the end of the day, you do sports when you're young.
Absolutely.
And with the new technologies, etc., you have to be keeping up with the trends that are happening in sport if you're going to lead the next trajectory of talent, because Africa is the youngest continent in the world, which means the next wave of multi-millionaire sports athletes are coming from Africa. The next wave in the next 20 years.
Look at it, Munya. Look at what the United States is doing with sports. Look at what China is doing with sports. Look at Russia. Look at the Europeans. Look at the Latin Americans. We are the only ones who are playing in the periphery.
Yeah.
And we have been confined to only certain sports, to soccer, rugby, and athletics. But there is a whole world
of sports,
of
yes.
sports which ought to be given the pride of place that they deserve. And I can guarantee you that one way or the other, we can create millions of jobs in this. Those who are directly involved, look at those who are involved in the advertisement, those who will be involved in creating the jerseys and the tunics for sport, the
coaches,
television rights, the sports stadia, the advertisement, the coaches, the referees.
Yes.
I mean, the ecosystem is so huge that this is perhaps, after natural resources that we call minerals, perhaps sports is the next big thing.
Yes. Well,
In terms of the potential that it holds.
I mean, the numbers we've looked at already, it's a $12 billion industry. And we're stumbling into this 12
And that
billion.
is the GDP of quite a number of African countries.
Exactly.
Yes. And those figures you are talking about, in my view, are conservative.
Yeah.
In real terms, we are talking about even $500 million if you factor all things that get into the sports space.
Yeah, $500 billion, definitely. I think we're good.
Thank you. I wish you the very best, and let the gods shower us with success We serve the mother continent.
And empower the next generation
empower
of
the
youth.
next generation. It is our young people, Africa's young people are the ones who are going to catapult this continent into the orbit of sustainable development. Development defined to mean the total situation where people are enabled to realize their potential in whichever field that they choose and desire. Or first, they desire, then they choose. Thank you.